and whatever I see is smiling at me. Love is who I am. Hello there, beloved Ascension pioneers, and welcome to this Ascension update with me, where I will talk about our new self, our new human, and the new earth manifestations for a lot of us who are moving ever so deeper into self-mastery. So I have to talk just a little bit in the beginning about what does it really mean, this path of mastery, because a lot of people still don't give value to that. In my journey of being simply a way shower into this cosmic mastery and training, I see that a lot of people don't put value yet to this, to the refinement of our human self and stepping into our mastery, because a lot of souls are simply not yet ready, or they're not yet choosing this. And that's why sometimes I encounter a lot of people who they just make that quick connection with you and they want to get answers, like my beautiful friend said, they're like a drive-by movie or a drive-by restaurant, and they just wanted like quick and easy answer, just something they're going through and they want it fixed quick and easily. But the path of mastery requires your full dedication, your full transparency in witnessing of yourself, for all of your external manifestations will follow your internal energetic alignment with that higher consciousness. So the mastery is something that within you, it grows, it blossoms. So imagine a beautiful flower. I was giving this symbol today. And before the flower meets the world in a brand new way, right, before she pops open and starts to, through all of her vulnerability, engage with life in a new way, all she knows before is this, what she was experiencing as enclosed, closed in this little bud. And before she opens up, it takes real lot of dedication that we don't see. We just see a beautiful flower and we say, wow, this flower is so beautiful. It's an amazing blossoming, and we all want to be there. So a lot of people who see that, they see witnessing of the mastery that if you are now really starting to step up in their own sovereign self-embodiment, and there's like, oh, I want to get there too, but they don't want to go through all the stages and initiations that we had to go through. And the reason why we had to integrate so much as forerunners and essential pioneers is because it's just it just is. There's no logical explanation why we've chosen this path. But I remember when I moved here in the Alps, and I was asking myself, why are you dropping me off here? And they said, well, we've actually sent our finest members of our councils, the councils of light. There's many of councils of light that have sent their representatives here on this planet at this very specific time when humans will be moving more deeply into working with, learning how to work with energy again. But the first step was disentangling from anything that's keeping you away, from your full self-empowerment, from learning what is really your life force, how it evolves through you, how it flows through you, or just rather wanting something on the outside and you're like one of those, a quick solution for everything, when you never really learn to engage with your own energy. So sometimes people ask me, I have options. I want to choose this or that. How do I know? And every time I see the same thing. So basically, a lot of where humans are right now, they're still in between spaces. And the first space is that old, which is the old spirituality, a lot of dogmatic spirituality, a lot of indoctrinated spirituality, a lot of these belief systems that we, in a way, for the human to become mature in their own sovereignty, they need to go through. And that's why there's so many still choosing that, because they're still growing through that. And there is no bad or false experience. It just is, right? It's just a choice. But I'm saying, what I'm sharing in my videos is for those of you who really want to step up in your cosmic initiation into mastery. So this first choice is usually, when there's a lot of healers, New Age teachers, and just beings literally providing you with saying, oh, look, this is something. I have initiation for your soul. I have answers for your soul. I can tune into your soul signature. I have this for you. I have this psychic reading for you. I have this information for you. Well, the other path is, it's more like, how about me knowing that all of that, which they say they know, is within me, and for me to open my bud, for me to open myself into that cosmic mastery, for me to even be able to start working with that energy, to harness my life force, to know how it creates through me. Even if I get that, will I be able to co-create with that? Will I be able to be at the level of maturity when I can use this information that I gain on the outside, when I haven't even integrated that from my own inner knowing? So this is where a lot of people are now. And I'm saying this from the bottom of my purest heart, that it's very hard for those of us who are doing work on the subtle energetic levels of embodying mastery so we can be role models. Because in true nature of the master, a master is not someone who will tell you what to do. Now I'm going to be your master. It's the master of their own self who is here to show the way. But the way means the principles of what mastery truly means, not the way how you will get there yourself personally, because this is something we each need to unlock with our own personal gateways and our own soul encoding. So it's just something we need to walk through. It's something that we cannot avoid or bypass. And for those of individuals who want it quick and easy and just want these informations and easy solutions and readings from others, they're not going to really benefit from what I share, because what I share has a value on another level. And I'm seeing that not a lot of people still value this. There's not a lot of people who put value into that, which, for example, I share. Very few individuals share, because it's so still on the level of the plane materiality where we are. It's still not very physical, very apparent. But we, as the human embodiment, we as the refined being, stepping more into our light beingness and our sovereign mastery, we are that. We are our own product. We are this. We're not a business. We're not a spiritual product. There's nothing to sell here. There's no method to teach about how to how to kind of incorporate that, how to embody this. It's just basically showing that it's possible and giving the certain tools to get you there. And you've probably seen movies where there was a teacher asking a master certain questions, and you've seen that a master never ever gave them an answer. It was never a specific answer. So then the student had to figure things on their own until they get it, and then they could apply it by what they got. And then the master says, ah, good boy, good girl. I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean, right? It's it's the essence of what we feel into so that we can have an exact experience. So when you don't have an experience of even a part of your mastery, when it starts to blossom, you don't put value to it because you've never had an experience with it. Let's say that this path of mastery is something so subtract. Sometimes it's so it's abstract. It's not always so like physical and raw, but it is also in another form, when you look at it from a different perspective. So you cannot ascribe a certain role or job or position to it. And what I do is basically just sharing with all of you. But as a master, I also have a physical body in my own training and in my own initiations, that I also have to, live in the sacred space in the physical form, in this physical vehicle. And a lot of people would not understand that because they think mastery, when you reach that level of becoming a self master, you won't need anything from the outside world. You will be completely just in this little bubble. And that's again an illusion. I'll talk a lot about disillusionment today and distortions of the false light. And because people have these expectations and distorted images about what it means to be in mastery, those of us who are stepping up, we're showing what a true master and exact physicality and a very simple physical representation truly is. It's not what we've made that to be. Sometimes we think of it as something so of high standard that we can't even reach it. We're making it very reachable. We're showing that it's just our natural state when we can, when we can dissolve all those things that kind of stand in the way for us to really claim our mastery. It's organic, it's our organic soul pathway. And of course, it requires dedication and devotion, but we're showing that it's possible, that we can look as a typical, normal, everyday human, but yet our refined consciousness is different. And that's what makes us, this what we are. So because a lot of people don't understand this, they would never think that also this level of work requires, just as much or even more a lot of times, devotion, because it's how you live. So it's choosing that refinement. It's making those choices that are always in alignment for the greater good within unity consciousness within every single move. And that requires constant attentiveness, constant devotion, constant purity. And this requires work on all levels. And because we're paving the way, and it's the invisible way, it's the invisible pathway, and yet it's also for the physical, a lot of people don't see. So they don't put value to it. For example, they wouldn't for example, I'm giving you one practical example. Being wouldn't give value to that. So you go to a healer, they help you heal something on a certain level, which you believe you need. So you pay for them, for the experience, right? For their time, for their effort, for whatever they do. But when you see someone sharing, it's very, it doesn't have complete substance. It doesn't make you feel, oh, you've gained something from it, because it's the invisible energies working with you. And it's because you're basically just absorbing that awareness, that light of truth. And a lot of times we don't put that in terms of, okay, I don't put value to it, so it wouldn't financially reciprocate to that being, or I wouldn't, sometimes people write to me, oh, I enjoy your voluntary work, and not all that I do is voluntary, because it's just basically devotion to mastery. It's not that I now volunteered in a way that, I'm doing this pro bono work or whatever it is. I don't see it like that. But I just have to let you know that this specific requirement to mastery is a work that is, it does deal with very refined levels of the human beingness, but it also is job and occupation just as anything else, if not even more so in the degree of how much devotion is it. Because you don't do it 8 hours of work, and then you go and enjoy your stuff. It's 24/7, even in your sleep, all the time. It's constant dedication, and that's why you don't see any difference between work and not work. It's just integrated. It's all integrated. It's basically devotion to mastery and service. So that's something that Spirit really wanted for me to share about you, because if we want to move into this new earth human manifestations, because they all come from the level of self mastery, we need to put value to that first. So this was the first message Spirit wanted me to share today, because I had to go through many challenges on my own path, because this path requires such dedication that you wouldn't go and develop a product or a specific business. It's not about spiritual coaching or mentoring even. It's beyond that. And a lot of people would then see it like, oh, there's just this person sharing wisdom, and they're just sitting there doing their thing, when basically it's much more than that. You have to see with the eyes of Spirit. And a lot of times, for those of you who are way showers, it will be very challenging, because you will have to be devoted to that which you know from higher realms. The moment you make it about something very physical, if you don't go at it from a specific angle that's still, not within the distortion, it has to be within alignment of what's true for you and what Spirit kind of, like how it shows you this path, then it won't remain within that purity, and you're going to create some entanglement. So for example, if I did something for the reason of monetary gain, or if I say I'm going to develop this just so that it would be supported, I had to stay so true with this path that I knew, but I also now know that at a different point of view from the earthly perspective, this is our horizontal self, and our mastery is moving from that ascended master also to the descended master, the embodied human, as I talk about the Homo luminous, which in a way is that full sovereignty to whatever you do. It has to be pure, whatever it is. So if in any level of your experience you would feel like, it's hard, so I'm just going to go back to this and that, you won't be able to, because your mastery would prevent you from doing something the way that is not within the highest alignment. It is challenging, and yet we also have to be firm in the message that we share. And although these messages are freely coming, that's not the same as being for free in terms of we putting our time or human devotion to it, because we did come here with a specific assignment too. And we do also deserve to have a life of abundance, just the same as everyone else, just as every other profession that every other soul has chosen. And that's why I feel humans need to give value to that. What we don't give value to cannot grow in our garden. So when you nourish your garden, the kind of types of plants or fruits or vegetables you plant there, you're putting your focus there. You're putting your attentive devotion to, so that will grow, and it grows through that love. So we cannot expect to have self-mastery if we don't even put value to it, or if we don't value people who share this path, if we don't kind of reciprocate, if we don't support these causes. So just as much as we support climate causes, ecological, organic causes, all these causes that we're supporting now, the human rights, children's rights, all these causes, self-mastery is also a cause. It's just a very much such a refined level, but we need to start showing up for it and respecting and engaging our life force with that, so that it can grow more and more. Because if I am more prosperous, I have more to share, I have more to give, and the same goes for every other Ascension pioneer, for every other human living on this planet at this time. Okay, so this was a long introduction, but I felt it was necessary, because these recent days, Spirit really shows me that it's time for humans to start valuing that of the refined levels. Because if we won't, they're not just going to come. A lot of humans, if they're not showing gratitude for that, if they're not showing the stepping up to that, and they feel that it will just automatically happen, it cannot, because it's not something that we, with all of our longing, with all of our beautiful pure heart, are choosing to engage with on all levels, which does include the human, the physical. If I don't engage with my mastery physically, it's going to just remain up there. And it's not what we want as the embodied soul masters. So the disillusionment and the Neptune play, because we're in this positioning now, and this we had just the solar eclipse with also some of the Neptune positioning. And I had this dream when a being told me, be careful how you connect to Neptune. And Neptune is the lord of spiritual love, but also illusion and disillusionment. So this new age, and I talk about the new age in terms of false light, because what is truly false light? False light is everything that makes you perceive that when you're going to move into that light, you will disappear, you will dissolve, you will disentangle, and you will become just this light, and you'll be all, and you'll be merged with all, and you're going to go back to God. And there is no such thing as you, as an I am, as your sovereign self, as your sovereign soul, as with his journey and experiences. And it makes you feel almost like um you're hoping for it. It makes you always feel like there's something you're waiting for, something you're hoping for. You're always at the brink of, it's basically you're putting your power to this false light. So the false light really, in the new age movement, which is just another branch of dogma, because it was created within the same template, only when we had people who said, no, I'm atheist. So the atheist basically means I'm going to just have my life and my life experience, and I'll see what I perceive about source and life and creation in my own way. So the new age was created for in a way for those who belong to no religion, so they could also feel, maybe I find myself here, because in a way every human is somehow searching for themselves to belong somewhere, up until the point you really start to claim your mastery, and you need to belong to yourself, to your sovereign presence. So this disillusionment is happening now. And just recently I've woke up with this after the eclipse. The eclipse brought us this energy of, it's like every eclipse disentangles us from more of the old. And at this time, it had a lot to deal with these old illusions. Let's say you see something being presented to you on TV, YouTube, wherever, and your first impression of that is, wow, it's amazing. Why don't I have that? Or how do we get that? Or, oh, it's so good. People even make projections and assumptions about me, and they never even met me. It's what I share is very real and down to earth. And yet when it comes to a filter of a certain individual, it can also come out very filtered. And this disillusionment, what I'm talking about, is seeing how much sometimes this new increase of the light can make us still filterize and polarize our experiences. And just yesterday I had this thought in my head before doing my yoga was, oh man, sometimes it's so easy. And I felt how it feels to be more rather an illusion, and to enjoying that partial playing out of that. Almost like I would rather choose to be in the game. And you rather wouldn't get sober, and yet you also need to sober up. And it can feel very serious, like you fall down to earth, flat on your bum, and you know that mastery is real. It's real, it's raw, it's engaging with every part of human experiences, but seeing it real as it is, down to earth. And sometimes this takes the greatest courage for you to see that. It's very easy to stay up there in the illusion, right? So I felt this feeling, and I felt how it can feel like, and yet I chose to rather be in integrity with what is, with the spirit, with all life in creation, where it's moving towards its highest potential within serving unity light. And then the next day I saw this post from these beings, and it spoke something about a very, very high level of dimensional space or this and that. I was looking into that. I couldn't believe. I felt, oh my gosh, there's still so much of that going somewhere up, and channeling some information that's not even with what is necessary for us. It doesn't even exist. It felt like huge distortions of, I don't know even how that serves us as humans. To be really, really real with our mastery. And a lot of beings are choosing still. Sometimes it's very, very subtle and you cannot recognize it, but they're choosing these filtered experiences where they would rather go up, 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 all heavenly or beautiful, all just love and light, without ever really choosing to descend simultaneously. And remember, ascension, descension are one process. So what I'm going to talk about today, about the new earth, human manifestations, they will not happen before all of our life force will start to really, really flow into our bodies. Because for us to be where we already were, there were periods, not just on this planet, but we all have memories of our galactic lineages when we had gifts and capabilities. I'm sure you had dreams about that. We all had them. We all know we have gifts. And when we wake up here in this human vessel, we go, wait a minute, why don't I have these gifts? Oh, shoot, the thing is that these gifts are reciprocal to the level of our life force embodiment. This is not the same as going to the, I don't know, 50th dimension somewhere up there, which is very weird. How I feel into it, it feels very weird to me. And this Neptune energy now, so it's whatever you're choosing. Are you still choosing that timeline, which is very fragmented, very polarized, and very, wow, it sounds very good, very ideal. Who wouldn't want to be in the 50th dimension, right? And at the same time, it feels like, but I'm a human master now. I'm choosing to master how it is to be in unity, all through this separation game, and yet to exist in a unified field. That is what the human masters of this age are doing. I know it might sound hard, like, how do we do that? How is it even possible? Look and see. You will get clear evidence on your own path. You will feel, because you'll get always confirmations about it. I get them every single time. And please, if you're more interested what I mean by saying all these things, every lunar cycles, like new moons, full moons, I post ascension guidance, new ascension guidance, and it's an ascension update on my webpage, Ascension Pioneers. And this time it was all about this. What just came through spirit was this, moving from masters of the self into the masters of creation, because a lot of us are now on this level. We feel like we've arrived somewhere, and yet every arrival is a new beginning. It doesn't end. It's not like, now we got it. Now we're top of the world. We don't have to do anything. Yay, we're masters. That does not exist, okay? That is still separation. It's an ongoing integration, and in this beautiful game of us witnessing ourselves as evolving more and more, it's always going to be more. So there's a lot of us who are no longer choosing to participate in this illusion. There's a lot of, I had dreams about certain beings who are very famous in the New Age circles. They have like millions of watchers, of viewers. And yet when I dream about them, what Spirit shows me about these people is that a lot of the things what they're saying is pre-planned. I had this dream about a specific being, how they were changing their accent so they could come out more of that guru type. So the people who are falling for a certain thing, how it appears to be, Neptune, false light, what appears to be but not what is. Almost like if someone told you, someone tells you things, and you fall for just the words instead of their actions and the energy that speaks on its own, because energy never lies. We have to know how to read energies to know that. So I had this dream, and a lot of that was planned, and a lot of the forces that are still working for keeping us in a certain grouping, grouping with a certain types of beliefs on awareness. That's what they're doing. And by us giving them our life force, we're not using our life force to cultivate for our own greater good, for our own spirit, that which we need to create on the new earth paradigm level, our new human self level. So it's not the same as moving into group consciousness. And I also have a mastery course on moving into group consciousness. You cannot move into the group consciousness if you haven't even mastered your own creation self, your own twin soul essence. So the thing is that the grouping, before you can even master that, is basically just almost like the denial of the self, to give yourself to the group. So you give your life force, you give that to a greater group, to a belief system, to a church of some kind, to a certain dogma, to anything that requires your participation. And they don't really want followers. What they want is the life force. So because a lot of people who are now waking up, they're seeing behind the scenes, they're feeling, they're witnessing that, and they're saying, oh, no, I'm no longer going to participate in that. I want to use my life force through me for the greater good, to serve the light of unity, not agendas, specific people, specific requirements that, are in a way they're wanted from me for the advantages that are not all within unity. So the masters of self that are moving into the masters of creation, and this means the masters of energy. This is the new level for a lot of us of where we have come in our arrival. Where we're going to move next is we're going to learn more how to work with energy. Remember, I think it was the beginning of 2014 when we had the year of alchemists, or was it? No, it was the beginning of 2015, pardon me, when I made this video, the year of the alchemy, the year of the magician. I spoke about this, that a lot of us will be moving into this mastery, and then slowly through each next chapter in initiation, we're going to be learning how to cultivate our life force and work with energy, how the energy just naturally will work with us to create these soul gifts. These will be these new earth manifestations. And these new earth manifestations we're already starting to notice now. And I'm noticing them myself. A lot of them we already had at the first stages of our awakening, but then we were moving up, 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 and then we needed to go down. And on that period, we had to face every demon, every shadow aspect, everything we've chosen to participate with to do that human vessel purge, the human vessel purification and refinement, and that is what we've chosen to engage with. So what we did is instead, a lot of people you might have an author with a beautiful book, but it doesn't mean that the author by themselves will be a living example of what they're sharing or the guidance they're receiving, because a lot of people channel, the guidance is channeled, and that doesn't mean now they are being directly mirrored with those experiences. So for those of us who are choosing the human mastery pathway, for me, let me just tell you personally how it was I didn't have remembrance triggered by a wow angelic experience, the false light, because there's many beings. I'm going to talk about here at the very end how you can recognize the difference and how to engage very consciously with this. Every time it was triggered into remembrance was through my direct human experience, and then the human experience got me to move up, connect with that specific timeline or particle of me in a multidimensional sense and gather that wisdom and then distill it and embody it. So it's the human experience. So it was the embodiment every single time was all about. And whatever I share, I don't share if I just get a mental image or, projection of it. Every time it's through my own experience, I gather it together, I put it here, either on a board or just without it, doesn't matter. And then I speak about these things from an exact reference point, because I cannot speak about what is not known to me. It can be, there's many people who can use very fancy words, can sound so like, or praise the Lord, praise the God of heaven, the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of God, I don't know, and all these prophets and these things. And a lot of times I've been thinking about today, and they were saying the prophets are those who spread the word of the words of God and what He wants. And the thing is, like, when you know the human origin, the history, there was a lot of gods, plural. They're not one unified God that you would call source, supreme life force, and intelligence of pure love and wisdom. But it's many gods who are just basically extraterrestrial beings that presented themselves, and they play this game like the Bible was created through certain gods that have their agenda, and there's other beings who had their own agenda. So it's basically like different gods waging their own war, like who will win out and who will have their own final word. And the thing is that they're just basically mashed up a lot of humans in this scenario. It's a very cosmic scenario, though. But when we think about it, okay, why would God, as infinite love and light, want any agendas to be spread out? So there's many beings, many prophets, many false prophets, I don't know how you call them, but many spreading the word. But the true word that the source has, it's not even a word, it's just basically the embodiment of that, which comes from the supreme primordial source light, and we can only live that. It's something that we can feel and live through the every aspect of creation, rather than speak through the words of agendas and principles that are not really unified, and they're not coming from the love, wisdom of divine intelligence of all. So we need to be very discernment when it comes to that. So the guidance coming through just recently for me was from priestess to empress. What does this mean? It's exactly that, because the priestess archetype is that, that pillar. We've established this pillar who we were. We've established our ascended pillar, a lot of us, and we've had our cosmic wisdom. We remembered so much. But now moving into the empress is, even if you look at the nature of tarot, it's not just, the priestess is, I think, number 2. The empress is number 3 in tarot. So the priestess is that divine intelligence and wisdom and understanding and seeing beyond the seen and the known. And then the empress is that which follows, which is creating with all of that. So the empress archetype is a lot about that life force. So when you know all of that, what do you create with it? How do you create your own personal heaven, your own kingdom and kingdom of God? And this came out beautifully in my recent Ascension update, so please check that out, because it was beautifully written through me, Spirit. And this means that the embodied life force creates. Go back to my Shekinah life force video. I talk about how you can recognize the Shekinah. It's basically a very high dimensional, higher essence that once we activate it, anyone can activate it. It directs us. It's a unified cosmic intelligence. It's not just heart, just the mind, just the psychic. It's basically just gathered together all that's distilled into pure wisdom. And that wisdom comes through the stream of life force that's the culminated essence of all of that. And basically that becomes your eternal life guide. And although a lot of times we may doubt it because it's so subtle, so refined, and yet it's so strong. It like pulsates, it radiates, it always engages with life by becoming more life, by creating more life. And the Empress is the creatress, is the creatrix, even the feminine essence of source, with the divine feminine, which is the lavish garden of abundance, of the Garden of Eden. This is where we're moving now. So for us to manifest, to have these new earth manifestations and abilities of our soul gifts, first we really need to become sovereigns. We need to step away from these disentanglements, disillusions need to take place for us to truly work with what is real. You know, we can have many dreams and fantasies and whatnot, but we've had all that astral this, astral, we sometimes say astral experiences, out of body experiences, astral love making, this and that. It's, on the level where we exist beyond these bodies, this is already known to us. And as masters of the human template, what we want is, how can this translate into our human form now? How can these soul gifts now be descended into our human form? This is where we're at. And this is the main emphasis of all my messages for all those of you who really, really are getting down to the very root of your being, to the very root of your existence. And this is where the life force is centered and where it starts to guide you from. So this embodiment, so the embodied life force is basically that which we need for these gifts, the abilities to start manifesting. If our life force is either always distracted, disentangled, if you have relationships that are draining you, this does not mean now people say, oh, do I have psychic vampires around me? This is not just about that. Basically, this can be simplest things like choosing to engage in a conversation when another doesn't show you pure respect and value, and they don't respect from where you're coming from. They're constantly saying, no, 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 but I think it's this way. When you're a master of the self, you can never really tell another, no, this is not this way. Choose for yourself, see your standpoint, know your discernment, but don't force it upon another, because I see the difference in this between my engaging with others and how they engage with me. A lot of times they want to present their viewpoint like, this is it, this is how it is. I'm just telling it straight like it is. How can you tell it straight? Yes, for yourself, but for another? Really? How? The master is a humble servant of their own life force, which does not enforce upon the other their own, where they're coming from, because if they understand that where they are is the unique sacred space they created, they have been initiated into, not might necessarily be in the awareness of another. So why would I even choose to engage in such a way to project and to say, no, this is how it is? So be careful of that, because this also drains your life force. It's not just from others, because a lot of people have this perception that their life force is being drained, or because others are acting like vampires, or they're disrespectful and they're negative. When you're a unified being, there is no positive negative. It's just mastery. It's just life force. Whether you're choosing to follow it, making choices or not, it really becomes so simple. It's not a black and white, it's just white, but it's a unified white light without these polarized duality experiences. So in that way, you will feel that this just no longer interests you. This game of, oh, you must be in the mind, that's negative, or you must be like this, no, or be extremely positive. You just simply witness everything, and you see everything from the standpoint of where you are. And a lot of times it will feel lonely or isolated, because there's very few others who will still choose to join that. The rat will stay asleep, or sometimes I feel like I would be on this party when everybody took a pill and only I didn't take that pill. And it feels like so lonely, because I'm the only one seeing the reality and everyone's seeing the wow, the beautiful, and when you're a master, you create your magic. It does not come from these distorted images and illusions, right? So this is the difference. And sometimes it might feel like this for you, and it would feel like I'm at the party and I'm like the only one there. I'm alone. I'm with all these beings, or I'm sharing, but I feel like a lonely guest on this party. And this is what it means, because to be a master of the sovereign self, You will have to step away from everything, but knowing that it's not them or the others who are in a way the faults or draining from you, but either you're allowing or you're also being disrespectful in some way, or you're also projecting or to them. Like I said before, you think you know what's right. You will always do, but for you, right? So you have to be humble in your knowingness for you, because I also have people come to me and they say, "Oh, Polona, this is how I know, and your guides have told me this and that about you." And I'm like, "Wait a minute, what are you talking about? My guides telling you about me?" It's just, I don't know, to be honest, who people are talking to, but there's a lot of things I want to talk here about the end. Neptune, illusions, astral entities, things like that. Be very careful, because every one of us is our sovereign, and we are talking with the communion within our sacredness. That's it. That's what it is, mastery about. It's not now you're going to have, you will invite yourself into the sacred space of someone, or you want to infiltrate their sacred space. It's not pure, and you will get karmic backfires on you every single time you're going to do that. So really watch for where your life force drives you through purity, and when you think it's life force, but it's really not. And it's actually just still separate ego, because you haven't yet fully merged within the unity of not just heart, mind, this and that, unified, just life force. People say, what's guiding you? And you would say, maybe my heart, or maybe my mind. You feel beyond confusion. You just say, it's beyond the rational even. It's just force. You don't know. It's like serving that force. So this also goes, like I said, no preaching, teaching, and those polarized experiencing that you are then later also a lot of times projecting onto others. A lot of times will be dogmatic. And the preaching, the preaching societies, whatever there are, these groups, a lot of times they place themselves above others. What I share about here is very down to earth for what we need to master for ourselves, but never, ever, 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 ever to the detriment of another, to impose. Even if you know you are mastering yourself, you really are not. When you're imposing it still upon another, then it's still something that's not fully mastered. So please observe that, because it can be so subtle and yet may have a major impact on your reality, of course. So these things all we need to move through them as our own initiations, so that we can have the clarity and purity to start utilizing and harnessing these soul gifts. Now, the second chapter, I'm moving to it, is this higher refined light body merge manifestations on the new earth, the new human self, the cosmic homo luminous self. And because we're just moving into this, and it's almost like, if you see that moving from the Piscean era into Aquarian era, we're still at the final cusps and final degrees of that Piscean age, of course, if you look at the nature of the zodiac system and the degrees of the external regions, right, of constellations. But what I want to say here that it's really important is look at the nature of the Piscean age. Yeah, the Piscean age, mostly a lot of the energy was focused on remembering the collective knowledge that went to sleep. A lot of that remembrance, of course, it came filtered through religions. Every religion, even the New Age, they all have bits and pieces of truth. But before moving into, like I said, your unified presence, your new earth self, and your new earth manifestations of this high refined level of your density, you need to culminate, you need to gather that together. You need to move into the unified light, so that all these knowledges, how will you unify them? How will you merge them? No other way but pure sovereignty. No other way but serving that which is pure, which is untainted. It's non-biased, it's non-manipulative, it's agenda-free, right? And I keep stressing these in all of my videos, because it's just how it is. I just see still so much distortion, illusion, and agendas behind things. And I know it's a process of human learning, because a lot of humans need their buttons really pushed for them to see. There must be something fishy here. I smell something. Fish, the Pisces is the fish, so something smells fishy. So before we move into the Aquarian age, which will be, we associate the Aquarian age also with the Atlantis and the knowledge that's returning, but not just staying here up as knowledge. We're being spiritual as debaters. Who's right? Whose spirituality is better, or more spiritual, more refined? We need to learn that it's all about our self-mastery before we can start using and utilizing and harnessing these gifts for the greater good, for a collective society. Whether you will choose to remain here on Earth, you're going to go back to your galactic council, either way, we are all in need of culminating into that purity, so that a new chapter can begin. It's seeding this for the new age. So what we're doing now, we're still planting the seeds, right, for this new era, this new age, because the Aquarius is where we will start to use the knowledge of the gathered Piscean age, which is still a lot of it, like I said, distorted and fragmented, but that's okay. You know, it's just where it is. And please don't get me wrong, whatever I share, it's not to judge it. I'm just basically going with what things are now and for what purpose. You know, it's always a purpose behind it. You know, that's why from the higher perspective, there is no judgment of anything. Even those aspects of us that we said are going to play a little bit of the negative game, we kind of wanted that on a greater level. There was a desire for that, so that eventually this could even out, because we're replaying what we already did, but we messed it up. We didn't finish it. And in the grand scheme of things, you can never leave the chapter unfinished. You got to go back. You got to, you know, commit it a new way, and then you can start anew. That's how it is. So, that backfiring, things coming back at you, even if you look at your own life, if anything continues to come back to you, watch for where you still haven't kind of culminated, where you haven't synthesized that experience, or where maybe it's just an aspect that you haven't fully figured out, or you haven't fully integrated, and then that's where the thing is coming back to you. And you do need that. You do need your whole self, your whole life force, so you can start having these new earth manifestations. So now let's move on to the second part, which is these merges, right, are happening now. So a lot of you might be feeling, I'm having these experiences a lot. When these light body merges happen, you're not just having these what people will call wishy-washy light experience. I've met these angels here or there. No, these experiences will be very much in your body, right? So you're not going to have so much of an out body experience. You'll have in the body experience. And I remember when my awakening began, when I used to have those, what I call later the cosmic orgasms, because my human self was merging with my light body self. And back at that time in the beginning, I didn't know about it. But at the beginning, I was always waking up before that pivotal release with that cosmic orgasm with the light body merge could happen, because I still wasn't yet fully, my body wasn't fully aligned, and it didn't know how to do that. Now, whenever I have, it's a full-blown cosmic orgasm. And when I have them just before waking up, I always know these are light body merges. So they're in the body. You're no longer having these extraordinary, fanatic, spiritual, meeting these angels. And this all happening here. Your guides, your multidimensional selves, all here, all in your aura, within the domain of your human mastery. Remember that. It is so simple. It's all that is you is within you. Is it you, right? Sorry, it's just okay. So these merges are happening, and these merges are making sure that the more we're unified, the more this light body merge is complete, we'll be able to have once again these gifts back. So the light body merges are in direct alignment with our DNA integration. When I say integration, it's not just activation. You know, we have these music for DNA activation, and people think just because they're going to listen to that music, everything will happen. No, no. You also, sorry for saying it like that. No, no, no. You know, like naughty teacher. I just mean that it's not all, right? It's just the beginning. It might open something for you up. It might cause an epiphany or two. It might cause you to have that out-of-body journey if you still on that level need that. But eventually it's going to have to come back to your human temple, because this is where the alchemy takes place. The alchemy is the chemistry that is combined through your magnetic and electric presence of your divine feminine masculine self in a unified polarity. So when you have the more of this union within you, starts to really, really beautifully cosmically align. And it's just like this one balanced out, radiating presence, right? It's like a pulse of life, in breath, out breath, very much harmonized. And the light body, the human body, become like this enmeshed. There's no more difference, right? Higher self, lower self, same thing. Read my Ascension update. It's just this beautiful mass. It's just beingness, right? It's your cosmic, it's your human, it's all merged. And with that, you now get to know how to work with energy without distortions, because when we had that in the past, the ages such as Atlantis and even the latter following ages, we didn't know always how to do that. So a lot of the energies that we were creating from our own knowledge created these distortions. And when I say distortions, it just means they didn't come from an integrated space of unity consciousness. And we're repairing much of that. People are, you know, witnessing of the rebalancing, recalibration of those karmic playing outs, right? Scenarios. But a lot of us who are just always kind of more the like the conscious observer, or we worked from the higher realms, or we had a different experience with this, We always knew that the time will come when this will need to be synthesized together. So for us to have these experiences, these light body merges need to take place. And that's why I say DNA integration, because it also, not just out of the body, needs to happen in your body. This is where the chemistry is your body. This is where this alchemy takes place. So the astral experiences that a lot of humans had, like astral out of body journey, meeting different beings, guides, having these wonderful light experiences, or all these things, or they used to have dream states. I don't know, you meet certain people or having shared dreams. A lot of these experiences where we were before were still based on the lower astral experiences, right? Because how we were developed in our maturity, in our sovereign maturity, we weren't almost like able to go so much far out, because the lower astral planes are like the closest to our Earth's, it's like Earth's atmosphere, the Earth's grid point, right? So if we want to move further out, we got to have the knowledge how to. And a lot of souls have forgotten how to do that. So basically, they stayed within those frameworks. And within the lower astral planes, it's almost like the shape-shifting planes. Anything can be anything. It's the dream world. So you can witness yourself or another, and all of a sudden they change into form, different person, say something, they say something else. So it's a mastery training ground. I had this video about dreams and astral planes and different dream states. Watch that, it's on my channel. I explained this more in the different levels of our dreams. But all these levels, right? The lower astral planes, also the beyond the psychic astrals. So, you know, a lot of psychics, they access only the lower astral, or they talk to medium. They're mediums talking to guides that just crossed over souls, or, you know, dead ones. This is still very not, it's not the higher planes, right? And because a lot of us knew this and we didn't want to participate with this, basically we just withdrew our energy from it and we said, I don't want to be psychic, right? But now what's happening is that psychic experiences are coming for us, but it's beyond this. So because we've chosen to not participate with this, and the astral realms, there was a lot of clash of energies and wills happening. And people even talk about the astral wars, you know, the wars of consciousness playing out in the lower astral fields. And that's why sometimes when you had dreams, you were waking up tired and you're like, what's happening? Because if your soul kind of either it volunteered to kind of assist somewhere there, or your energy was needed, or you were basically picking up those fragments for yourself, you could wake up very tired. You know, it's a lot of things are happening there, because it's kind of like imploding on itself, so we can start this, because the earth is having its all this new inbreath cycle, and this is kind of dissolving. But before it dissolved, it needed to play out this what was playing out, right? So now for those of us who didn't want to participate, we're having those psychic experiences again, but they're more the intense knowing level. So the intense knowing level is that you just know things. I'm going to give you, here I have written examples, so I'm going to try to give you along the way some examples. Recently I reconnected from a person from my past, right? And I just knew something about them. I don't know how, it just came to me. I never was in contact with any of those people from before. And I felt guided to ask them. And I said, hey, can I ask you something? I don't want to freak you out, but were you or were you not, after, you know, being with me, did you date this person who also used to be my friend back then? And he said, wait a minute, how do you know that? Yes, I did. It's like, I had people telling me stuff, but not like giving me a name of the person and everything. I didn't know, because I wasn't talking to anyone. I'm not, you know, this is for me past life. And they were like a bit freaked out. And it was like, were you a witch? And I'm like, I don't know. I just know. Or last time I was running and I felt I said something to myself, I'm so happy today. I have so much love. If I see this neighbor of mine, you know, this guy who was very sarcastic with me, said, if I see him, I'm even going to hug him. And I never hugged him even before. You know, we used to meet sometimes. And I see him just seconds after I had this knowing. I'm like, now I got to hug him. And I hugged him, and then I keep running, you know, in my own direction. And I felt, wow, a lot of these things are happening now. And this is just a knowing that's not even psychic. It's just a compiled life force knowing. So this life force knowing is a part of our soul gift. You know, people will still want to have things answered on the psychic level, because the psychic level is the immediate level of what they want, and the direct answer to for the experience they're having to, but it's not for their mastery always. A lot of times it's because their curiosity wants to know it, because they want to surpass the experience, they want to avoid certain things they're needing to learn with that experience, and we cannot. This is how it is. When you're coming from the highest compassionate state, you know there's no avoidance, there's no surpassing, there's just transcending when you integrate that experience on your own, when you learn from it on your own. So these intense knowings are coming to a lot of you. Watch out for them. When I talk about these astral planes, so for me, I had a recent experience with someone, and I woke up in the middle of the night. It was more morning already. I never had this experience before. I had sheer dreaming, I had these astral things, but this was more like a literal physical manifestation of that person being there, sleeping in my bed. I was lying next on top of them, and it felt real, like every sense, everything. And it wasn't just like out of body experience, it was almost like connecting with that timeline, if that was a potential of that person physically being there or having that physical feeling to the manifestation. A lot of you might be having something like that, so take a look into. A lot of people ask me about things, but I can't go through every one of the personal experiences from you. Please understand, just one person, so many of you, and that is why I dedicate, as you see, so much time to this video, so as many of you as possible could benefit and prosper from that. And that's why I do it this way for the group. So these body manifestations also, a few years ago, I remember I had, in the beginning of my awakening, had many manifestations, many symptoms, things were like, wow. But then later they started to dissolve because I was moving more into my descension cycle, right? The thing is now, because I've told you the three-way level of ascension, we're moving with the overlighting experiences now. But first is like this rooting yourselves to the very, very root of the human experience. For us is where we are now. And you will know when you're there, because it will feel like flat falling down on earth, and you won't know what hit you, but you somehow know that this is the very much needed stage of this journey. And although you might feel, it's hard, what do I do now? Or you feel like a loss of orientation and direction, you don't know where to go now, you feel like, I don't know what else to do but being my own master. And this will feel weird, spaced out for a bit, but don't get afraid. And the reason why I'm going through this, and a lot of us, is so that you who are following in these footsteps could have it much easier, because we're already telling you how to do this. And that you have nothing to fear. It's just the level of the experience in that cycle. So these body manifestations, a few years ago, I remember I had life force moved into my body, and it started to move my hands. A lot of times it was when I was laying in the bathtub, and a hair started to move, making gestures and circles and symbols with my hands, and I didn't do anything. It didn't move my hands, and I was freaked out. I was like, who's doing that? And once I asked who's doing that, and the hand started making a finger and going up there, like, who, ET, go home. It was more of that, me, my highest aspect. I'm doing it, my life force. But now, as we're moving into these gifts, but in a new way, in a refined way, with the cosmic but human integration of our descendant mastery, we'll feel those body symptoms return. And I had a few dreams. It wasn't even a dream, it was an out of body experiences, just before waking up, when I was doing the hand thing again. And I woke up, the hand thing again, I was just moving them. And on the full moon, I think it was the Virgo full moon, I was lying in my bathtub listening to some beautiful music, and it started to happen. I was just observing my hands, they were just making their moves. And as this was happening, I was receiving this guidance that we're gonna start now where we are as not just masters of the self, but also creation masters. We're going to work with the aspect of creation, how to utilize and harness energy through our life force. This is the next chapter for so many of us. And again, it's hard because it's not a specific job. You can't put a product to it. It's not a method. It's just your life force teaching you. And therefore also it's going to be hard to teach others, because it is so unique to every one of us, but we're going to find a way. We're going to find a way to somehow also create a template for our human mastery to also be supported in the horizontal, because for a lot of us, and you, whoever you are watching and feeling that resonance with what I'm saying, it was very hard for us to feel supported in our mastery, so that people could also value it, respect it, approach it like that, approach it as sacred, and also needing value and honoring that. We felt a bit lost here, we felt a bit abandoned, but it needs to come into a balanced point. Otherwise, we need to be met on the human level as well. That's what I'm saying. So also I've written about time and space. Time and space, not distortions, but different senses of space and time are shooting shooting timelines in a different way. So I had this experience that freaked me out a bit, but then later I got this explanation that it's with shifting timelines, and for us to have an experience of it because it's coming in the future too, we will be able to do that with our intention. Yes. What I've had, don't freak out, but I was running, right? And I come to this point where there's a hill, and then I go across the main street, and it's a street where the cars go really fast because it's like this main road. And I always look to the left, to the right, right? I always look. It's just inbuilt, right? I have music, I look left, all right, then I go across that main road. And all of a sudden, I'm running, already across the road, and I was with my music, but something told me to jump off like this, and the car was just driving just right at me. It went just almost like it went through me, but it was just like this missing, and I jumped off like this. I just avoided the car for a very minimum distance, and I didn't get it, how the car was just there, and he didn't get how I just showed up there, because if he probably saw me from a distance, he wouldn't go so fast. And I'm looking at it, and he stops in the middle of the road. I'm still running a little ahead, and he's still looking back at me, and it didn't make sense to the guy. I seen his face. And I wasn't even afraid. I didn't get any of those heart palpitations. I didn't get freaked out. Just later, I was like, what just happened? The only thing that was in my mind was, what just happened? I didn't get it. The week after, I tell my mom, and she tells me I had a similar experience, only it was on the, when you go across the street and the car didn't see me and I felt like I was invisible, and it was a similar experience, a bit different. Like, what's happening? And later I got this, it's like the timelines now, because they're convergent and we're converging. Sometimes we're feeling those and we're having these manifestations, and although we have these loops, right, in our time frame, we are supported, right? So I was just guided somehow to jump off just before the car could hit me. And what hit me was like, what just hit me? What's happening? It was very freaky. At the same time, I was still like a lake. I don't know, I didn't freak out, I didn't have no panic, my heart wasn't even beating fast, because usually if I had an experience like that, I would freak out and my heart would be beating like crazy, but nothing. And I'm running right back to my direction. I'm thinking, what's happening? Why am I not freaking out? It's just because it was so natural. It was just a part of these converging timelines, and we had to have those experiences of these time lapses in a way. So if you're noticing, this is also one of these new earth manifestations. um, a lot of these new earth manifestations will deal with you when you channel anything through you, let it be music, art, I don't know, but any sorts of something that holds frequency, right? A lot of these gifts will be, it's all about frequency basically. So all these gifts will be about how strong, how life force embodied the frequency that comes through you is. And to you, it might seem, oh, it's just this, it's just a song, or it's just that gift, nothing special. But the way it comes through is different, because you have descended, you have moved into your life force presence, and whatever you share has that quotient of that. It's very magnetic and electric at the same time, creating chemistry. So that chemistry creates a garden to further out its ripples for us to grow, because if we want to move into the new age, basically have to put sprouts of the growth within that template. So bringing these soul gifts to the level which is held within the density of that new earth timeline. And because it's basically a consciousness that is overlapping, so it overlaps the old, that's why we're having simultaneous experiences, right? Or simultaneous timelines, these time loops, parallel experiences you will feel. But these are basically, in a way, our awareness of it is the soul gift. And this is how we will know how, even if it's something will feel weird or freaking us out at the beginning, the awareness that we have come into, the wisdom, will help us how to use those gifts. So a lot of these gifts, when you, for example, when you will learn how to move your life force, just looking at your hand and moving your hand with your eyes, you're giving it attention, but you need to master your focus first. How will you, with all your scattered energy, be able to do that? The focus, the harnessed focus needs to be so strong for us to do that. So the Piscean age, all the gathering, all that scrambled bits and pieces of the spiritual knowledge, it was like a galactic cosmic library, but lost bits and pieces here and there, kind of synthesizing it. But each human has, it's not just a collective thing. Each human does that process within themselves. Each human that is walking into their mastery. So again, at the end, like I said, I want to talk about invoking the higher guidance, because just recently we watched this video and the woman was saying, you know, a lot of times people, when they do healings or blessings for others, or even if it's just for yourself or you're in meditation, or an intention ritual ceremony if you're a sacred space, and you would keep saying, oh, you know, I'm invoking the presence of Mother Mary, Jesus, Archangel Michael, Archangel this and that, this being, Pleiadians, Sirians, Arcturians, whatever. And when we're just invoking, the same goes when people say, I am the violet fire, I'm the purity, blah, 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 you know, all these things that they're saying, but they're very like just words, has no feeling. You know, the woman was saying, yeah, you're gonna say, okay, invoking these beings, and beings from the lower astral will say, okay, I'm this, I'm Michael, oh, I'm Mary, you know. So a lot of people who talk about speaking with these guys and having these conversations, they're having them because they're having conversations, but who is, I don't know, because I'm not the one having them. I only commune with spirit. I don't talk to any, as much as I respect all beings and all presence of life, I don't choose to engage with that which is not within my own sovereign domain. So that's why I don't do that. But I know it's possible, and she was saying this, I started to laugh because I always spoke about this in my own videos the same way, that you can invoke any kind of presence, but if it's like this mental, you're gonna have that same mirror to you, and these beings will come and they'll say, oh yeah, Metatron, yeah, please, I'm gonna give you this guidance, ooh, look, a candy for you. And she was saying that basically when you are invoking presence, you need to do it with the longing of your heart. It needs to be like this heartfelt devotion to that. And that's why for me the main word is always devotion. Be devoted to what you're invoking, but feel it like not as outside beings. Feel them like they're within the white brotherhood. They're your cosmic white family. You're one with them. Approach all that you are with life, whatever you're doing, even if it's just a soul gift, you feel like I'm going to move into that now, but it will come naturally. But feel like the life force of a unified field works through you, and it's always going to be for dedication to serve that of the highest refined nature and the higher consciousness, and non distortions, non illusions. What is real? Really choose. It's not always going to be easy, but choose what is real, because you may hear, we may see, you may even feel sometimes, but what is real, ask, allow it to be presented to you by you being in your sovereign state of discernment. And this longing is something that I always had within my heart, the longing for the beloved, the longing for your mission, the longing for, is not going to come by these answers or just by these partial answers, but it's really going to be given to you as an answer within grace. So this is something I want to talk about here. And because a lot of people sometimes tell me things, you know, it's like, I want to say here again, do not ever think that you know for another better, or you communicate with their essence or their guides, whatever you perceive, better than they do themselves. Know that they know what they're doing for themselves either way. So don't get enmeshed, don't get intermingled if it's not your thing, if it's not your domain. Just let it be. Work on yourself, work with your own mastery, your own master guides, your own ascension team. And also, I wish to say for those of you, because there's some of you who want to ask me questions, but you're doing it on my personal Facebook profile through Facebook Messenger, please respect, I do so much and I really don't have time, and this is my personal space, and then my phone keeps ringing and ringing, and it's really annoying because I also like to do my own things too in my private space. Please, if you really have questions, I always tell you the same thing, send them to my official working email, that's shared on every one of my pages. You cannot miss it because it's shared everywhere, right? It's Polona at ascension-pioneers.org. And make it non-personal. Don't make it about your situation, because sometimes people like throw things at you and they're like, oh, I'm not expecting an answer, but they're throwing this huge life stories, and it's hard. It's really hard for me. I cannot be with every single one of your stories, as much as I know they have value. They're beautiful stories, but remember, they're yours. They're your stories. What I can talk about here is how we basically know this as our own, how to really initiate ourselves into complete self-trust, complete working and trusting in our own spirit, and just letting life flow this way. So again, thank you for watching. This was a long video, but I had a lot to share here because there really is a lot of us moving into this new earth template, and because there's like this evening out of the old, a lot of us have complete this where we used to be, and it feels like, what do I do now? And whenever it feels like that, we know that something new is in the making. it will just come. It will come to you in its natural time. Just be with that which is the truest, and that's always choosing mastery of the self beyond anything else, in complete humility, in complete devotion, and serving the light of the unified truth. So thank you for watching again. As always, so much love has been power. Thank you for those of you supporting and donating. I really appreciate that equal energy exchange. If that benefits from you, what I share. I mean, if you benefit from what I share, sorry, tongue-tied. It's been a long video. So as you know, please, I have beautiful courses on my page that also kind of help me to be supported in what I do. So if you're guided to that, and that's it. That's it for today. I hope in a way it was beneficial for you. Please feel I really love you all so much. And although I can't always be with everyone's stories personally, I am with you, all of you, as a group, as a unified beings. We're one. We don't always have to blah 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 about everything. We just feel each other, right? And our beautiful integrated cosmic hearts. I love you all so much. Take care. So much grace. Bye.
Welcome into